So what's happened in the prime central London property market? In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what's happening in the prime London property market. But I'm also going to be sharing with you 3 hotspots when it comes to property investment in these areas. So stay tuned. So the number of sales transactions in the UK went through the roof in 2021. And there was different reasons for this. One, of course, was the stamp duty holiday. But of course, we also had the government pumping in so much money into the economy. What I found different this time around is that prime central London usually leads the way outside of a recession in the UK. This time it was the other way around. The rest of the country had a boom and central London really lagged, but it got there in the end. But it's understandable with that lag. Why? Because overseas buyers are the ones that are really attracted to prime central London. And of course, with travel restrictions, soon as the travel restrictions were started to ease, we started to get that activity in prime central London. So for prime central London, that was above 6%. For prime London, that's just above 4%, and then you have Fringe was 2.5%. Overall, there has been a slight slowdown when it comes to price growth, especially in that last quarter of 2021. However, if we look at it from a 3-year perspective, we can see that there's been price growth of just above 10%, in fact almost 11%. And comparing it to the last peak, it's just below 4.4%. So what's the reason for the slowdown in price growth over the course of the last few months? Well, flats and houses can have a lot to do with that. Because if we look at houses, if we look at price growth, it's actually increased by 1.2%. However, flats have actually decreased by 1.2%. And it's a trend that we continue to see throughout the pandemic. And if you find this video helpful, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you can get video updates from us every week. However, the number of homes under offer over the course of the last few months have risen by 20% in comparison to pre-pandemic levels. And it's important because that's a key indicator as to what's going to happen in the next few months. So we can expect sales transactions for spring and summer to be pretty busy. So let's look at this from a property type perspective. When we look at transactions with houses, the transactions in the year of Q1 2022 was just 0.9% lower than the previous peak in house transactions in the late 2013, while the number of flats transactions was still 27% lower than its previous peak in early 2014. Those differences also apply across price bands. As the chart shows, transactions at the top end of the market were 58% higher than the levels immediately prior to the pandemic, and were over 10% higher than the previous peak in transactions in 2014. Lower price properties have also seen strong recoveries in activity levels compared to the period immediately prior to the pandemic, but are still below the previous peak. So I don't make up the market, I simply interpret the market. If you have a different opinion as to what's happening in prime London, feel free to leave a comment below the video. In the meantime, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe for more videos. So that now brings us to the hotspots in prime London and where the opportunities lie for 2022. There are so many opportunities, but I'm going to stick to around about 3 or 5. For me, it is about prime London, so just outside of that central London area. That's where we're seeing a lot of demand, family orientated neighbourhoods, more space in terms of square foot, outside space. That's where we're really seeing a lot of demand, and there isn't that much stock. So if you're able to secure something in those areas in terms of houses, you really do very well. So what kind of areas? We're talking about Holland Park, we're talking about Bayswater and Notting Hill. Now, when we look at central London, I think there is a great opportunity as well. Why? Because these were the areas that were greatly impacted during the pandemic, and I don't believe that we've even seen the beginning of these areas really picking up. I think we're going to see a real trend over the course of 18 to 24 months of house growth, specifically in these areas. The fact that central London is seeing so much more activity absolutely means that you should hit that subscribe button so you can make sure you get videos like this on a weekly basis.